This is 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. It reads, "Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Hamashiach, our Passover, is sacrificed for us." Shalom. This is Nathaniel from the Holland camp. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and the glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kodash. I want to give double honors to the other apostles of Great Millstone that teach Ruel. Peace and salutations to the elect that are scattered abroad in the four winds of the earth, out there in the highways and hedges, and pushing His truth and sincerity. Shalom Makim. So, I just want to get into this video concerning, getting ourselves right, and situations that we're going to deal with, in this world that we are living in. We got to constantly endure these afflictions, problems, situations that, a normal person cannot deal with. Now, when you become a part of this ministry, this thing of ours, as Elder Apostle Gabar always says, which is actually true, on our daily path, we have to deal with these situations. And knowing this, that it is very important to apply these scriptures on our daily path. All right, so hold on just a second. Right, so we got to apply these scriptures on our daily path, all right? And really what I want to go into is concerning not making haste in a time of trouble, all right? And that goes into applying these scriptures concerning that, which we're going to get into, and Lord willing, it will be edifying for those that need to hear the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right, so this is Sirach chapter 2, verse 1, and it reads, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." So knowing this, that there's no avoidance, all right, of the trials and tribulations that we are to face on a daily path, okay, because it's been very clear, all right, as has been written in the, in these, in the past, for us to read in these latter days, to know what we have to go through. So lucky for that. This is 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 3, and it reads, that no man should be moved by these afflictions. So, as I read in Sirach chapter 2, before I got distracted by this dog, let me read it again and go over it. Sirach chapter 2, and the book of Sirach is also known as the book of Ecclesiasticus, and it means to cry out, okay? So Sirach chapter 2, verse 1, it reads, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." So when you come to serve the Lord, all right, being a part of this ministry, we're going to face temptations, diverse temptations, what I would say yet. Temptations, adversity, trials and tribulations, So as it reads here in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 3, as it reads, that no man should be moved by these afflictions, for yourselves know that we are appointed thereunto. So being brought into the ministry, your calling, right? As the scriptures say, the sheep shall hear my voice, right? Many are called, but few are chosen, right? So becoming a part of this ministry, you have to understand that there is a lot that you're filling. You're filling that lot, okay, of being what? A servant unto the Lord, okay? So being a servant of the Lord, you're going to face afflictions, man. You're going to go through some shit, okay? Now, being as, a newborn babe, I'm still considered a babe in this truth. We have to understand that I've been around for a little while. Um, but for brothers that are, freshly coming in, you're not going to face adversities and, tribulation as a brother that's been already around for some time. All right, there's levels to it, right? But as you grow within this ministry, that demon is going to get stronger. The situations are going to be harder, and it's only there to prepare you for the times that are to come. All right, because these afflictions have been appointed thereon too. Right, and it's also there to show our integrity. All right, we got to be proven first before we enter into the kingdom, because as it says here, I'm gonna jump here and I'm gonna go back to that Acts chapter 14, and I think it was 21. Let me see. Was it 21 or 14? Let me Acts 21 or 14. Let me see real quick. Let me see 6. Oh boy, hold on. Boy, ain't no way, boy. I was right. That was 22. Should have looked a little bit further down. This is Acts chapter 14, verse 22. Just trying to get through this, not trying to make this video too long, but just straight to the point, man. This is Acts chapter 14, verse 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. All right, and that's what this video is also about, to exhort one another, which means to strengthen one another, okay, that we may continue in the faith, because we have been pointed on to these trials and tribulations. As the scriptures say in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 12, the Lord chastens those that he loved. All right, so the thing is that this world, these people, that are living their life, they're not being put through that fire, situations that they may show their integrity onto the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shem Shai. They're living in lusts, okay? And the thing is that we're being brought to the fire now onto what? Glory. But for those that are not going through the fire right now, eventually they will literally be going through that fire, man. They're going to be catching straight hell. But for us, Lord willing, that we may receive mercy and that hedge, that protection in these days that are to come, that we may be hid from the wrath of the Heavenly Father. All right? So it says here, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith. So that's what we do for one another. We exhort one another to continue, that we may press for that mark. Okay? And that mark is what? To fulfill that what we're supposed to do. Right? As the scriptures say, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved, right? And that we must, through, let me read it again, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. So through much trials and tribulations do we have to go through in order for us to enter into the kingdom. Okay, now going back to 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 4, as it reads, right? Because we have been appointed thereon too. And it's truly a blessing because, going through these situations where you're catching hell, you're at your lows, you're taking losses here and there, being considered evil in this world. Our names are being cast out as evil. People are, separate themselves from us, and it's just a blessing because it's better to be around those of the same mindset. And that's the mindset that, it's like to be around like-minded brothers, man, that are actually true and sincere. And to be sincere is without hypocrisy. Okay? So as it says here, 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 4, for verily, when we were with you, we told you before that we should suffer tribulation. All right? Even as it came to pass, and it's like it. So, the thing is this, there's no other way. As the Lord said, you try to find another way, yeah, it's considered as a thief and a robber. And you don't want to be in that situation, all right? And that's how many people, they try to avoid judgment, but there's no other way. You got to go through that fire, all right? So when you come to serve the Lord, these are the things that we have to go through, all right? And then, you got individuals that try to avoid that. They try to find every other way than to deal with the matter, deal with situations accordingly. What? By applying these scriptures on a daily walk, man. All right, because it says here, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. Now, to set thy heart aright, which the word heart here in the Hebrew is lab. So you gotta set your mind aright by what? Applying the scriptures. Now, if you don't know the scriptures, that's when you dive into the scriptures, dive into that water, which will rejuvenate you, give you life, feed you, hydrate you, okay? Because we are also considered as plant. Now, you don't want to be looking like that dehydrated plant, okay, in a bad situation. You'd rather be that plant that's planted next to that water. So you got to get into these scriptures so that way you may, have that wisdom, knowledge, understanding, to deal with the situations that you're dealing with, okay? If it be, from your past, or if you're dealing with the things that are in the present, or even as in the future, right? Now, the future, we understand that clearly that things that we'll be going through right now is nothing to be compared to what we're about to deal with here very shortly. But at the end of the day, for us to go through these situations, it's really a learning lesson to build us up in the spirit, okay? And to apply the scriptures. Put on the spiritual goggles, because we've been blessed with these gifts and we got to use them. All right? We got to use these gifts that the Lord has blessed us with. All right? So we gotta set our heart aright and constantly endure. Now, to constantly endure is to deal with these situations that, constantly get in the path. All right? And, the thing is that it's not really pleasant, to deal with these situations, if it may be not be able to have any, funds, to, take care of yourself, or, in a situation where you need, funds to, you know, get you by. These are situations that, we have to understand and deal with. But, it teaches you a very valuable lesson. Because the thing is that when you're in these kind of situations, when you don't have money, right? Because the scriptures say money is a defense, right? Sometimes you got to understand, well, not sometimes, you just got to understand that the Lord is in control of it all. Okay? It's just there to test you if you're going to continue on, keeping your integrity, right? Because just imagine this, right? You're in a situation and you don't have any money to pay rent. Now the flesh is going to take hold. You're going to feel insecurities. You're going to feel all types of emotions, right? Are you going to lean onto that old man? Are you going to lean onto to your own understanding? Are you going to do the things that you've done in the past, being that old man to get by? Are you going to hustle, right? Are you what you going to do? Are you going to trust in the Lord? Or are you going to establish your own righteousness, right? And these are the situations that the Lord brings us through. So we got to constantly endure these situations that we're going through, and it's there to test you. Because the thing is that all of us, we all came from different walks of life. Some of us we've been living in the streets, being hustlers and whatnot, right? Are you going to resort to being that person again? Right? Are you going to justify it because you need to pay rent, or you need food, or you need this and that? Right? This is where the scripture kicks in, man. This is Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. It reads, "Trust in the Lord Yahweh with all thine heart," right? With all thine mind. Trust in the Lord, and lean not onto thine own understanding. So through much tribulation shall you enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Bashem. So the things is this, man, the situations that we go through, it may feel very like a big problem. It may feel like a very big problem at that moment. And that's the point where you have to turn to the Lord for your problems and help that you need. Right? That's why you got to continue to trust in the Lord with all thine heart, your mind. Because, as the scriptures say, a man's going is of the Lord. So knowing this, that the Lord is in control of it all, we're not supposed to lean onto your own understanding. As it says here, and lean not onto thine own understanding. This is actually a commandment. Not commandment, but this is actually something we have been told not to do. Which I think that's a commandment, but you know what I mean. We're not supposed to lean onto your own understanding, right? Because that's that old man. We're supposed to get rid of that old leaven. That old man. That person, that wicked person that we used to be. We're supposed to put that away. That's what it means to trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Right? And dealing with these situations, as it says here in verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him. So everything that you're going through, you got to acknowledge that the Heavenly Father is the one that is in control of it all. And he shall direct thy paths. He's going to lead you out of those problems. But it all comes down to this. Do you trust in the Lord? Are you taking that leap of faith? And a leap of faith is not just, being somebody just, doing something ridiculous. No, the leap of faith is just knowing that the Lord is going to catch you. You know how they have those videos of these dumbass Christians, bugged out Christians, and they have this, this little fucking talks, and they have a person behind them, and faith is like them closing their eyes, and they cross their arms and they fall back and have somebody catch them, and then they try to say that's the Lord. Well, guess what? This is the leap of faith that we should continue to have in the Lord, man. That's what it means to trust in the Lord with all thine heart. It's like, knowing that the Lord is going to catch us. He's the one that's going to get us out of these problems. Because it says here, verse 7, be not wise in thine own eyes. And that's that old man. Fear the Lord Yahweh and depart from evil. So don't go doing the things that you used to do when you was back in the world. Right? Because as it says here, this is the point, in Sirach chapter 2, verse 2, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. So situations that we go through, we have to constantly endure, and make not haste in a time of trouble. Key point. Because when you're facing with situations, you thinking quickly, right, carnally, rather than taking a moment to think through the Spirit, because the Lord has blessed us with his Spirit. He dwelleth, that Spirit is dwelling within us. And we got to take time to step back a bit and see what the Lord is doing. What is it that, because the situation may be that the Lord doesn't give you that money at that moment, even though you worked for it, and these devils hold it back through their faulty ass system. Don't make a quick decision concerning how you used to deal with situations or to prove yourself, right? You can leave yourself exposed to other shit by giving information that you don't need to give, which is not necessary. But because of out of insecurities or a fear, you know, you may do irrational things, man. That's not necessary, and trusting in the Lord and taking your time and applying these scriptures, you're gonna see and you're gonna reap the benefits from it. Because it's all a learning lesson at the end of the day, man. This is all a learning lesson. This is what, the things that we go through is there to prepare us and to teach us lessons. It's really there to teach us lessons of how to deal with situations, and be able to judge properly, accordingly to the scriptures, not according to man, not according to the old man, okay, not according to, what your mother taught you, or the school system, or this and that, concerning spiritual things, man, situations that you're going through. Now, you may be able to apply the things that we have learned, like 1+1 is 2, right? But I mean, like, other things than that, that's, may have you in a bad situation. The Lord might guide you into a situation just to get, help you get rid of that dross, man. That old leaven, that old man, to try you, right? To be made what? To be made pure, right? Because as it says here in Job, let me see, Job 32:6. Let me see. 32. Let me see. Maybe I can find it real quick. I could just do it like this. Boom. Do it the quick way. This is Job 31:6 as it reads, "Let me be weighed in an even balance, that Yahweh may know mine integrity." So just like Job said, you're gonna receive you can receive all the good, but what about the bad situation you go through? Right? So the bad things that you go through, and guess what? Job did not sin with his lips. Job is a very good example on for us to walk, accordingly, man. As the scriptures say, the things are written aforetime were written for our learning. So knowing that, we have to apply the scriptures on a daily path. Okay? So we can get rid of what? That old leaven. Right? The point is that don't make haste in a time of trouble. Situations that we go through may occur, quickly. You might find ourselves in a situation, right? But that also shows you that, when you think quickly and do irrational things, that you lack understanding, man. Right? And you're leaning onto your own understanding as well. So the thing is this, man, seek counsel. Seek counsel from the brothers to help you out in these situations as well. That is also not making haste in a time of trouble. Seek counsel. Is this a good decision? I'm going through this situation right now. I found myself in this situation, because of the actions that I have, the choices that I have made. I don't know if it was wise or not, but I'm dealing with this situation right now. Whatever situation you may deal with, and at the end of the day, through the Spirit, as the scriptures say, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. That's you trusting in the Lord with all thy heart and acknowledging him in all thy ways, and the Lord going to guide you out of it. But when you're making haste in a time of trouble, you're going to find yourself in a much worse situation. A much worse situation. Okay? This is, let me see, let me grab this real quick. This is Ephesians chapter 4. Let me see. This is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22. And after this, I'm going to close it off on this video. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 22, and it reads that ye put off concerning the former conversation, the old man. You see, that's you, when you're making haste in a time of trouble, when you want to resort to being an old man, leaning onto your own understanding, right? Which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. Now, we understand that the heart is deceitful above all and desperately wicked, right? Who can know it? Why? How would you know it? Because when you do things that you want to do good and you realize that you ain't doing what you're supposed to be doing, well, that's that deceitful heart. And that's why you got to, dive into the scriptures, right? And be renewed in the spirit in your mind. By what? Applying these scriptures on your daily path. And that ye put on the new man, which after Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, is created in righteousness to the true holiness. So you got to put on the old man by walking in the spirit, walking accordingly, walking in the ways of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, and that old path, right? Wherefore, putting away lying, speaking every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be ye angry and sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So the point is made, you got to put off that old man, because the thing is that when you're putting on that old man, that old conversation, well, guess what? That's you leaning on to your own understanding. So when dealing with situations, as the scriptures say, through much trials and tribulation shall ye that we have to go through in order for us to enter into the kingdom. So when you're making haste in a time of trouble, well, guess what? You're just going to make it harder for yourself, And, for me, I've been making it really hard for myself because, Jake is hard-headed. But Yahweh Tazah, man, everything that we go through is there to prepare us for the times that are to come. All right? So be mindful. Don't make haste in a time of trouble. Apply these scriptures on your daily walk and put away that old conversation, that old man, right? That old former conversation of the old man. All right? So, Lord, when it's edifying with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to the other apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well, and peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.